Solutions Review is on location at Commvault GO in Nashville, Tennessee. Brought to you by Commvault.
We are here at Commvault GO 2018 with Patrick McGrath, who is the Director of Solutions Marketing for Activate at Commvault, and that's a new title effectively because Activate is a new solution at Commvault.
It is, yeah. We really just talked about it and released this new packaging of a lot of our search and analytics tools this year as part of our overall portfolio simplification.
Well, and the Activate story is a timely one, and it's really an evolutionary one as well for Commvault, in that the broader story at this Commvault GO conference is really simplifying the Commvault suite of solutions down into something a little more modular and a little more easier for a buyer to buy. But same with Activate, right? That's a microcosm of that story, in that it's bringing together a bunch of solutions together into a very neat compliance package.
Very much, and I think it's sort of more than compliance. I think what we're really excited about is the fact that we're pulling together a set of tools that naturally complement each other about analysis and use, putting to use the information that's actually being managed. So whereas our complete backup and recovery really focuses around these sort of abstract blobs of data that people are backing up and recovering, we're really using this offering to get into the nitty-gritty of what's the information that's actually being managed, so that we can help companies actually drive some benefits in terms of efficiencies, managing their risk, or trying to drive further value from the data they have under management at the moment.
Well, and the dirty secret in most enterprises is the amount of blobs that exist of data.
Huge,
that they don't necessarily know about.
Right.
And Activate is really designed to take stock of that, at least as a first step.
You know, it really is. I think it was a bit of an eye-opener to many organizations this year when GDPR was being looked at, right? The initial assumption that many organizations had was, all right, what's in my data center? I really need to make sure that's okay. But they were actually running storage in the cloud. They had SaaS applications. And as you know, personal data dealing with customers, employees, maybe business partners, runs all the way through almost every business process that an organization has, and therefore almost every data silo. And with cloud adoption, those silos are getting more and more and more frequent.
Well, and this is the challenge that a company like Commvault faces, in that the amount of data is just growing exponentially, which is the initial challenge. But then what can you do to take advantage of that data is another challenge. And then ultimately, what do you need to do to protect yourself from the potential misuse of that data,
right,
given some of the acts that are happening around the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's really true. I kind of like to think of the challenge with the silos. I used to work with records management systems for a long time, and records management systems are great because they're one of the few that really kind of have built in this idea of information lifecycle management, getting rid of this old, redundant, obsolete data, right? The challenge is that you're very lucky if the data you're looking for is actually held in a records management system. The vast bulk of data throughout an organization is held in these different silos with fewer controls, little metadata, and almost no visibility across the board. So what we're able to do with Activate is to actually gain consistent visibility by actually doing indexing, whether we do that from backups or archives that are under Commvault management, or we actually go out to these live data sources and actually do the scanning and searching. We pull all of that information into a centralized index. And with that centralized index, we can then start pushing a really consistent view of data risks, potential for data efficiencies, and really importantly now, sort of where pockets of value for the organization might be in terms of opportunities to improve a customer experience or to drive product improvement.
And so what are the dance steps that a company should think about as they start to move down that path that Activate is paving?
So we kind of like to think about some of this stuff in sort of a framework of information governance. And information governance that really is looking at these three issues of efficiencies, risks, and really driving the business value of the data, which is why we're storing it in the first place. So we typically take 5 steps. One is that we have an inventory process where you're really defining your data universe. backup and archive data that may be under management from Commvault, as well as defining sources of data outside our management. Now, that's actually great because then we can actually start taking a look at a broad swath of data risks, data potential, and maybe that drives additional revenue for Commvault on the backup front. Maybe it doesn't, but it definitely helps to get this overall consistent vision. The second thing that we do is we organize it. So we delve into the files themselves to understand what their context are, what their content is, and then maybe extract information that would help us figure out, does it contain personal data? Could this thing be a contract, or could it hold intellectual property, right? We get a sense of its value and its risk. The third thing that we actually do is we provide a review process so that people can actually start creating a priority plan for how they want to deal with that data, right? In a consistent way across those silos. That drives the fourth step, which is act, right? You actually then want to do something with the data, whether it's, hey, I need to delete it off this device, or I need to quarantine it and move it somewhere, or I need to actually take a look at pushing it into another system, right? Once you've actually got the act through with all of the business process and workflow that might be involved with that, we push it then into an automation phase where we can actually do things like retention and disposition policies by creating data policies based on the metadata that we find in the meaning of the file. So it's very contextual. So those 5 steps, I think, create a cycle of further improvement and a growth of value throughout the organization.
Well, I'm curious who you present that to. So where do you find traction within an organization for that story?
So it kind of depends. I used to be a consultant, so that's a great answer for everything, right? But I mean, if I'm talking to a storage team, one of the primary things that they're really looking for is, how do I save costs, right? So somebody that's reviewing our dashboards for file storage optimization are going to be looking for where there's old data that they can get rid of, where's stuff that hasn't been accessed for a while that I can put on slower spinning disk. What's happening in the cloud, or if I'm moving stuff to the cloud, what stuff can I get rid of before I do that? So the outcomes that they're trying to get really require tailored data, tailored visualizations to actually help their own decision making. If I'm talking to a compliance person around GDPR, it's a different ballgame. They need a different view of the data. They need a different way of being able to prioritize their actions, and so they're generally dealing with different dashboards and so on. But I think in both cases, the thing that really kind of excites me about what we're doing is we're not just putting up graphs and charts, right? These dashboards are dashboards that are actionable. They can actually do these proactive cleanup actions directly from these charts that are showing them what their prioritization could be, right? So the dashboards and the applications we envision are going to be very much tailored to what the business outcome is that people are trying to drive, and we've got these two, what I kind of refer of as solution accelerators, with the sensitive data governance and the file storage optimization as quick paths to getting value out of the Activate product very quickly.
Well, to your point, it's an exciting time, not only in technology in general, but in the data center. It's been traditionally a very hardware-driven environment, but now with all of the advancements in AI and automation,
it's changing the game.
It really is.
I think for Commvault, and one of the reasons I've been at Commvault for 2 years, and the thing that I'm just so excited about is this transition from helping organizations deal with data to helping organizations deal with information creates a wealth of opportunities for people to leverage investments that they've already made, or to actually start taking a look at cross-organizational goals. But furthermore, it creates an opportunity for us to talk to people in the organization that really don't care too much about backup and recovery. And not just the customers that are getting value out of it, but this ecosystem of partners that we have that have got magnificent expertise in geographical or use case driven requirements, right? So they're actually going to be able to start building applications the same way that we've presented these GDPR type solutions or these file optimization. They can create their own applications that we can leverage the indexes that we have almost as a data hub and an intelligence hub about what kind of information is running through that organization.
Well, this is great. It's a brilliant story. I'm very happy to have heard it, and thanks for sharing. We've really enjoyed the show here. There's a lot happening. and best of luck in the next year.
Right. We're so happy to have you guys with us.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.